some people like say that, you know, you out here talking this revolution stuff, now you might be like killed and what have you, like this here is Reagan's here, cowboy, all, you know, atmosphere, you know, all this Rambo stuff is going on. You guys out here talking about revolution and talking about working for the defeat of the United States and all this kind of like stuff here. And, you know, and I basically, you know, I just say that people like that, I mean, like, for me, my experience, I think my experience, like, typifies what a lot of it is from, like, I mean, I was shot by the police. I should have been, like, they told me I should have been, like, I was shot by the police even before I ever heard of revolution. They was trying to, like, shoot me right down the street, no more than being, like, a young black out here in the streets and what have you, and being kind of, you know, insolent and defiant about, you know, being, you know, not being, being insolent and being, like, disrespectful towards, like, that. I was shot at. But even that's even before I even heard about revolution, know anything about like revolution. So, you know, now they want to shoot me because I'm out here talking about like revolution, and I, you know, I'm conscious of slavery and conscious of what has to be done about the end of slavery. You know, that makes me feel good that they want to do that, because what they want to do to me, I want to do 1,000 times more than them.
A drug dealer suspect, and now the president.
All right, my fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes. Outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes. We begin bombing in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're going to be passing out body bags. If the radiation team finds that you are too radioactive, it would help everyone out if you would just climb into your own body bag.
Teachers at our school are saying that you shouldn't come down because it's also important. It's not important enough, or it's all supported by communists, the revolutionary communists. That's, yeah, at our high school, and we shouldn't come down and support this because the communists are down here doing it too. But I think
with things being like so heavy, like now with you know, us being like, you know, faced with all this nuclear war and what have you, like this here, that I mean, to not, you know, like to go all out, to not go all out in revolution and trying to like bring these chumps down before they like push the button. That's, you know, if people want to say that's what's unrealistic. That's being like detached from reality with me, to think that, you know, they won't do it and we can like some kind of way, short of revolution, prevent them from doing it. That's crazy.
A lot of youth really, I mean, you know, have nightmares about this shit, like, you know, of the actual dropping, of the hitting of a bomb and having to, you know, like walking through like this, you know, just like destruction. Bodies all over the place and outlines of people and, you know, melted eyeballs, you know, all kinds of shit, you know, just like really vivid.
It's so incredible and almost unbelievable that they'd actually destroy the entire world.
All of the little emblems and symbols on this map are nuclear installations in Europe. ICBM installations, underground storage facilities for nuclear weapons, intermediate range missiles, atomic munitions for cannons, howitzers, and so forth like that. The armed forces of both blocs are so nuked up that they actually don't have any other way of fighting today. The type of war that we're facing, I think, is not one of a protracted nature that we think about World War I and World War II and people fighting in the trenches for years. We're dealing now with the possibility of a nuclear holocaust occurring in 30 to 45 minutes. The fact that the war will be fought with the weapons that are on hand when the war begins means that the weapons production that's going on today is the war production of World War III. The political mobilization of support for the war that's going on today is the political mobilization of support for World War III. And also actions that would be taken to prevent World War III would have to be the actions that are taken today.
they're always out here taking public opinion polls, like the Gallup poll, this poll, that poll, and it's usually, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's to reinforce some really reactionary shit that they just did or about to do, right? Like the bombing of Libya or the invasion of Grenada, and, you know, to say people support it, you know, and they poll a certain section of the public, and my guess is that probably a lot of times they poll the members of the Kiwanis Club, you know, so our party united with some people like students to go out to Richmond, California, where a lot of proletarians live, to take a public opinion poll of our kind of public. We asked the question of about 4,000 people out of the 80,000 residents of Richmond that if you knew that the nuclear powers was about to push the button and start a nuclear war, would you be willing, you know, and that you knew they were going to do this in like a few weeks, would you be willing to take up arms against the system, including against the government, to stop it? So 62% of the people we polled said yes. And the majority of those also felt that World War could break out at any time. And I think that those are the people that we speak to and we speak for and we plan to mobilize in making revolution in this country, that this party represents.
¿Por qué tenemos que agarrar una chance con la revolución? Porque nosotros sabemos es muy peligrosa, pero tenemos que hacerla porque al mismo tiempo tenemos que salvar la destrucción del mundo. Aunque algunos moramos y otros vivamos, tienen que quedar las raíces de que se hizo un esfuerzo, a lo menos si no hubo la guerra nuclear. Quizás algunos mueran, otros no, pero está la historia, quizás no morirá.
Just kind of looking back on it, it's kind of interesting because back when I was beginning to get involved in the revolutionary movement, we didn't really have a view that this is where things were necessarily going to end up. In fact, some of us thought that maybe we could just take care of it in the 1960s, early 70s and finish it right there, and I guess I was somebody who thought a little bit of that, you know, but didn't work out that way. It ended up not being possible. But what it has come down to is that through the work of the Revolutionary Union, the work of the Revolutionary Communist Party, it's actually been a thing that we were getting ready for this exact point, you know, not always clear on the exact dimensions of how it was going to go and exactly how it was going to shape up, but okay, here we are.
Me dijeron cuando iban a hacer las protestas, y sabe lo que está peleando, y sabe lo que es el imperialismo, lo que está haciendo con la gente. Que una persona sola no puede hacer absolutamente nada, por eso tiene que haber unidad entre personas y el apoyo, porque sin la unidad no hay fuerza. Tiene que ser un grupo, y es una organización que ya está preparada.
We don't have any guarantee that we're going to be able to carry it off and do what's necessary, but I'll tell you this, I think we do have the line, the organization, and the strategy for carrying that out, and we're going to be maximizing our efforts to try to get in position so that if we do get a chance to do it, right here in the belly of the beast, as, we used to refer to it in the 60s, that we're going to try to be ready to take that shot.
RCP tiene mucha experiencia de los 60s, podría decir la revolución de los 60s. Y yo creo que atrae mucha gente por esa razón, ¿verdad? La realidad es que en nuestros países, Centroamérica, voy a hablar porque es donde yo vengo, especialmente El Salvador, cuando fue la guerra de Vietnam y todas las rebeliones de Watts aquí en Los Ángeles, por ejemplo, las rebeliones negras que han habido aquí de estudiantes en los 60s, nosotros no sabíamos nada de eso, porque es natural que los Estados Unidos no iba a dejar que sus otros países que él tenía bajo su represión, o que tiene bajo su represión y su control, se dieran cuenta de que dentro de sus fronteras su misma gente no está conforme con su gobierno. Mucho menos íbamos a estar conformes nosotros, que estábamos siendo más explotados.
This is a decisive time in Vietnam. The eyes of the nation and the eyes of the entire world, the eyes of all of history itself, are on that little brave band of defenders. We do not doubt the outcome.
Honorably discharged from the United States Air Force on the 23rd day of May, December 66. Down at the bottom it says, this is an important record, safeguard it.
I pray that time will forgive me and my brothers what we did. And only those lumping pigs behind those closed doors have to suffer, and not the young kids and the unborn kids.
We don't want to fight anymore, but if we have to fight again, it'll be to take these steps.
Sir, why did you decide to become a candidate?
Time to drones out there here on top of you.
Sure I would.
No, you wouldn't have.
No,
why don't you read the...
No, I don't want to read. I don't want to read. I'm an educated American.
Find out what it's about.
I gotta find out what it's about. I was in World War II, fella, and I served 3 years. I know what it's about.
Across the land, as nights grew longer and hotter, midsummer mania swept from city to city. No sooner would the setting of fire, the looting, and the sniping subside in one community than they would be fanned into eruption in another town in another part of the country.
We will not tolerate lawlessness. We will not endure violence.
Each campus administrator must act before the trouble starts by making it clear that participants in destructive demonstrations, faculty or students,
face instant suspension.
I am the San Francisco Police Department. The persons demonstrating here are unlawfully assembled. Don't fight the bankers' war, burn the bankers'
Our party was forged out of the tumultuous and fiery events of the 60s. You were like out demonstrating all day and debating strategy and tactics all night and looking for a program, addressing the question of how are you going to bring U.S. imperialism down.
Well, my life was, just typical. Typical what life is like for, for the oppressed, for black people under the system and stuff. And it was, early. That's what my life was about early. Was, a lot of it could be characterized by eluding and combating the police and seeing like others, doing like the same thing or even like being like killed by them or what have you. A lot of like, just, terror and brutality. And when the Panthers hit the scene, it was something like they were speaking to my every feeling. Young girls as well as these young guys used to come there with Panthers. Young girls, 15, 16 years old. And, some young guys, some of them was a little older than that. They used to come by my house with their Panther papers. And that's what they would, they would tell me. They'd say, nigga, you drafted into the Black Panther Party. You ain't got no more say-so in this. We used to have study classes and groups, and we'd be reading the Red Book, and we had to, discuss it and break it down and explain it, trying to really understand some of the stuff that Mao Zedong was talking about. Going to those kind of meetings, I found that really, and being able to be part of that process, something that's was really exciting. And we used to be out on the streets at night sometimes, this stalking the, I guess what we call it stalking the stalkers and stuff. And, the police and these, the enforcers of this way of life.
The Rules Committee of the State Assembly met today to review security provisions in the state capitol in the wake of Tuesday's Black Panther demonstration. Assembly members are worried because the Panthers brought rifles, pistols, and sawed-off shotguns into the chamber with very little difficulty.
Loaded guns is the way to solve a problem that should be solved between people of goodwill. And anyone who would approve of this kind of demonstration must be out of their mind.
Bob Avakian was one of the first white revolutionaries to come out in support of the Panthers. And you see him at, they had rallies at the Oakland Auditorium where I think that was 67 or 68, Rap Brown speaking, I think James Foreman and Stokely Carmichael and Bobby Seals and Bob Avakian, the only white revolutionary brother, be on the stage speaking with these black militants. Eldridge Cleaver, I guess, had offered him secret membership into the Black Panther Party.
And let me say one thing to the white people in the audience. Now, Bobby has been saying for a long time, we will not fight racism with racism. We refuse to stoop to the level of a racist to hate somebody because of the color of his skin. Well, that's fine. But I see a lot of white people walking around and say, oh, good. Now the Black Panther Party don't hate me. I can go on about my business. That's a cop-out, and if you act like that, the Black Panther Party will hate you, not because you're white, but because you ain't taking care of business to organize other people, teach them the need to support the black liberation movement led by the Black Panther Party as a strong, fearless voice against American imperialism, and to link up with all the people in Vietnam, in China, in Angola, in Latin America, and everywhere else who are standing shoulder to shoulder to drive this vicious beast out of the way and out of the pages of history.
No more brothers in jail. Off the pigs. Pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pigs. No more pigs in our community.
I mean, a lot of people at that time, would anything like the Panthers would say. People would say, oh, it's cool, oh, it's revolutionary. Even what the Panthers was saying, that if they putting out something that wasn't revolutionary and shit. Even if they started talking more about we got democratic rights, we got to start fighting for our democratic rights and our constitutional right and all this other old bullshit like that. And even people would still say that was revolutionary because the Panthers are saying it, how can you say it? But Bob Avakian, he wasn't, never was slavish. I remember coming out this meeting, so there's, in the hallway, there's Bob Avakian. There's Bob Avakian and this Panther, they arguing like a motherfucker. They arguing, and they just shouting at each other. And Bob Avakian is shouting that, Mao Zedong is the greatest revolutionary of our time. And this Panther is shouting, fuck Mao, fuck Mao and fuck you too. And they're going back and forth like this. And so as the Panthers was putting him down, Bob was even more into popularizing Mao and popularizing that kind of revolution. And he had even went even further. He had went further and more like fully off into what, the politics that Mao Zedong was about. So June Hilliard's there, who's a Panther leader, and he's there, and he's telling me that, you see what he's doing, pointing to Bob Avakian. You see what he's doing? We ain't gonna let him get away with that. Beat his ass. And but I wouldn't do that. I'm glad I didn't do that. And the reason I wouldn't, and what I was thinking about at that time was because what Bob Avakian was saying. I had some agreement with what he was saying, especially around like Mao Zedong, and especially like around like revolution. I had more agreement with what he was saying than what I had just heard in that meeting. When I first went to jail, I had some real conflicting thoughts about revolution. I really had some real doubts if we can ever make a revolution here in this country, or we can have the kind of organization could be brought about that wouldn't sell people out at some point, and that kind of we can ever develop the kind of leadership that they had in China with Mao. In the Panther, we talked a lot about Mao and revolution, and taking up the gun and this kind of stuff here. But in terms of the Cultural Revolution, which was something that was unprecedented, that's something that I really didn't begin to understand or really get a hold of until I got into prison.
Great proletarian cultural revolution, or the cultural revolution as people usually refer to it, was something that for me personally, I think a lot of other people who were involved or became involved in that period of time, something that was really tremendously significant. I mean, here you had a situation for a revolutionary party that had already seized power, and the leadership of that party calling on millions of people throughout Chinese society, workers, peasants, students, to get involved in the struggle to redirect and keep China on the correct revolutionary road, and including within that to direct struggle against leading members of the Communist Party who were going down what they called the capitalist road, dragging Chinese society back towards the old kind of ways of life as opposed to trying to help push it forward, and further revolutionize it. And what it really did for me, and I think for a lot of other people too, is it kind of raised my sights and understanding of what this thing of revolution was all about. And it wasn't even a question of just getting some new and different and better people in power and letting them run society, but it was a question of actually completely remaking society.
It had a mind-blowing effect, I think, on us, people just like us, ordinary people on the bottom of society. And it was beginning to run society. It was eliminating all these things that people think is permanent. We're doing away with class divisions that's based upon oppression between those who work with their heads and those who work with their back. Or the social inequalities between men and women, different nationalities. It was uprooting and doing away with all that, and we felt that represented us.
When that kind of society was overthrown after the death of Mao, with the arrest of the revolutionaries who had worked most closely with him, his widow Chang Ching, Chang Chun-Chow, and several others, it was a very big loss. I mean, because that had been the beacon forward into the future.
The people I was, associated with politically, we was all checking out everything in China because we had subscriptions to the Peking Review, so we was following, the intense and sharp struggle. And a lot of prisoners used to ask us, about it and stuff because they knew we was getting the Peking Review and shit, because it was all on the prison radio and stuff like this. And we would explain it to them, tell them what happened. But when the coup happened, that was something that really, that was a real heavy blow, I know, for us. And me myself, I couldn't, we couldn't understand what happened.
毛泽东主席的妻子38年整了，认识还不止，共患难了。战争的时候，唯一留在前方追随毛泽东主席的，只有我一个女同志。 你们躲到哪儿去了？
We love Chang Ching. We really couldn't figure out what had went on. We had a subscription to the Peking Review, and they would print the names of these different organizations from this country as well as others, welcoming World War Fong, and welcoming like the coup and stuff. And that's one thing that struck to us, and we saw these people sending they welcoming letters, and they was printing Peking Review, but we didn't see nothing from the RCP there. And so that made us like think that there had to be something more going on here than what meets the eye.
盘出被告人将其施行。
革命万岁！
It wasn't obvious at all what was going on in China. And a lot of people were like very, on edge. And it was Bob Avakian who led this party and to rally the revolutionaries to uphold Mao and the achievements of the Cultural Revolution. And that was very, decisive and important at that time of upholding the red flag and not letting it drop. It wasn't what happened when Khrushchev restored capitalism in the Soviet Union in 1956, when there wasn't such a vanguard party in this country and wasn't such a force that, decisively analyzed and defended the revolution, and distinguished the revolution from counter-revolution and communism and goulash communism.
Había leído en los periódicos Mi País de Mao, especialmente en la Revolución Cultural, que esto causó mucho impacto, pero yo no había leído sus obras. Entonces mi entendimiento del socialismo no era lo que es actualmente, que el socialismo es la trayectoria hacia el comunismo y que realmente en el socialismo todavía existe lucha de clases. Para mí eso anteriormente era inconcebible. Lucha de clases dentro del socialismo me parecía algo inaudito, y que todavía que había el peligro de que una burguesía gestada dentro del partido mismo pudiera todavía descarrilar una revolución, era algo, vuelvo a repetir, una cosa ilógica, inaudito. Por eso digo que cuando yo llegué acá y conocí al PCR, el Partido Comunista Revolucionario, fue para mí un gran hallazgo. Entonces sí, mis ideas son completamente diferentes a la idea del socialismo que tenía anteriormente. A cuenta que era una párvula.
And some people say, yeah, well, okay, but how do we know that you won't be like others before you? How do we know you and your party won't be like the other groups that have come along in this country and others? How do we know that you won't sell out and revolution won't be betrayed, either before it even happens or after it, when you just try to turn it into your own thing for your own benefit? Well, I'll say this first of all. I myself, speaking for myself personally, have been fighting this system politically for 15 years. I've been a revolutionary for 12 and a conscious communist for 10 or more, and I got no intention of being or doing anything else as long as I'm alive and for as long as I can contribute to the struggle, and they're going to have to kill me to stop me from doing that, and we're going to fight to see that that doesn't happen either. It's not just a question that we have revolutionary determination. We've fought to get to the point where we are, to develop the revolutionary line that we have, to have the grasp and application of the revolutionary theory that we have. And there's going to be many sharp struggles to safeguard, to protect, defend that, and to apply and enrich and deepen in the process of leading not just thousands, but ultimately millions of people. And finally, I'm going to put it back to you in answering this question. If you want this party to remain on the revolutionary road, if you want this party to continue to be a sharp weapon of the working class and oppressed people for revolution and not turn into another dagger in the people's back, if you want that to happen, then you got a role to play in that. Because if you want to be emancipated, you're going to have to emancipate yourself. Ain't no saviors coming from heaven. Ain't no pope going to do it for you. Goddamn Secretary drowning Kennedy ain't going to do it either. We're going to have to emancipate ourselves if we want to be emancipated, and that's the only way it can be done anyway.
He's been in exile, political exile, the last 4 years in Paris, and and before that it was all these death threats on his life. He was under constant surveillance. They were trying to set him up, trying to set up where he was living at, and making blueprints of his living situation and the house where he was living at and everything, and with death threats by like the Secret Service and by the Klansmen and all these kind of like people here. So I'm glad that he had got one up on him, and they would like to get it from out, get out the country. His leadership is much too valuable in terms of our chances to be able to make revolution.
I told Ellen maybe it washed up out of the creek or something, after all that rain and all. I can't tell. Right? Like a freak of nature.
I'm a former Marine. I think it should take a detachment of Marines, or just give us 50 Texans or 50 Cowboys. We'll go over there and take care of the situation.
Look around you. These people in these white robes, they're standing up for their family.
We needed somebody here to show them blacks their places.
Makes you proud to be American, doesn't it?
You don't want to be anything else.
Yeah.
Praise God, praise God.
Hey, we got to do what we got to do. If we have to bomb Libya off the map, we should have done it the other day.
That's out there and it's real, but people got to understand what it actually means. A lot of people see it, but you got to understand what it actually means. I mean, because here you've got a ruling class that is preparing for the greatest crime in history. It's preparing for World War III, complete with, the nukes and all that. And you're preparing for something that reactionary and that horrible, then why not expect them to mobilize around an all-around reactionary program? I mean, it's just a question of them getting their forces together.
A friend of mine once said to me here recently, Joe, man, he said, he said, don't be doing this stuff here. And he said, this ain't like what it was when we used to do this here before. They got Reagan up there, and they got all like these rednecks and stuff like this up there. And he said, you're gonna get killed, man. Don't be out here. I don't want to see that happen to you there. So I just basically told him that the other side of that's out here too. Those who find that very revolting and disgusting, who've always experienced American nightmare and who can't wait to, flush the whole damn thing down the toilet and can't wait to get their hands around the necks of one of these good old cowboys or Klansmen or something.
The anti-abortionist leafleters came to Berkeley High.
Yeah.
There's a point where a group of young women was going, wait, these nuns are like preaching to them about don't have sex and use birth control, and it's immoral and you're disgusting and you're going to hell.
Sinning.
You're 14 years old. You better have that baby.
The Bible. They're quoting from the Bible, saying that you're sinning because you're having premarital sex, you're using birth control, and you're getting abortions, and that makes you a sinner.
Well, the group of young women started just taking the literature. Yeah, sure, we'll take your literature. And they were just so pissed off, they fucking sat there and burned the shit.
Storage standpoint, or even hear these people telling them that they are supposed to stay chained to the home, chained to the crib, chained to the sink, and
bed.
Yeah, the bed, husband's ankle.
Many people say that they don't believe revolution is possible in this country. I'll tell you something. The people who run this country do.
The state police helicopter passed overhead, made a low pass over the MOVE headquarters, and something was dropped on top of the compound.
We intend to evict from the house, we intend to evacuate from the house, and we intend to seize control of the house. We will do it by any means necessary.
The explosive device was made of DuPont Tovex.
You got, bombs being dropped in Philadelphia on a group of black radicals, clearly to make the point about this is what you get, if you engage in deviant behavior, by which they mainly mean if you oppose us in any kind of way, on any kind of front. And when that thing went down, literally hundreds of people, when they heard that there was a siege of the MOVE house, that the police had evacuated the neighborhood and they were, shooting into the house and all that, literally hundreds of people gathered at the barricades. Many of them tried to get past the barricades to get up to the house to kind of interfere in what the police were doing. And, a lot of them were chanting murderers, murderers, murderers when the thing went down and the bomb was dropped and, the house burned and the people were incinerated or probably some of them shot.
The crowd out here is now beginning to be a massive crowd. That is about half a mile along the 62nd Pine Street is what you're looking at. People here are getting very excited and very upset about it. Once again, they're mostly young people. But this is Pine Street. They're getting ready.
You know, we've done a lot of work in the Philadelphia area. We've talked to a lot of people. And the thing that comes out from literally having talked to dozens of those hundreds of people is that they went there not just to see what was happening and to check it out, but a lot of them said, hey, I was hoping something would happen down there. I was ready if somebody was going to step up and lead it. I was going to go down with it. And they were hoping that there would have been just some kind of upheaval right there on the spot and hopefully powerful enough to stop what the police had planned. And see, that's important to see that kind of sentiment among people and also to grasp that it's out there, but it requires leadership.
La revolución que se haga en los Estados Unidos tiene que ser bastante diferente que en los países latinos como Salvador, Nicaragua, Perú, porque allá los revolucionarios se pueden esconder en las montañas.
Verdadero proletariado, como los negros y los inmigrantes y los blancos pobres. Para mucha gente en este país, ellos son invisibles, ellos no existen. Es posible para ellos a manejar por la calle en el este de Los Ángeles o en los guetos de Detroit o Chicago o Houston, a mirar nada. Esto es una razón, más o menos, que mucha gente no entiende cuando decimos es posible para un ejército revolucionario venir de la nada, porque estamos hablando de una sección de la gente que para mucha gente no existe. Están concentrados en todas las ciudades. La combinación de, por ejemplo, de los negros y la combinación con los inmigrantes y con otras secciones de la gente, no solamente la gente de aquí, pero también la gente con experiencia revolucionaria en sus propios países. Es una combinación explosiva.
El imperialismo ha hecho que salgamos de nuestra tierra, donde ya sea por represión, ya sea por cuestiones económicas, por lo que ellos quieran decir, porque muchas veces aquí no están dando asilo político, porque ellos dicen que la gente que se viene es cuestión económica. ¿Y cómo no se van a venir por cuestiones económicas si ellos han robado, roban nuestra materia prima y devastan los pueblos, tuercen su economía?
Mucha gente hasta vende sus casitas, sus pocas cosas que tienen en mi país para venir aquí, y ha sufrido tanto para llegar aquí, venga a sufrir más al ver que en realidad sus sueños no pueden llegar a ser realidad porque no se les da en la oportunidad. Y en realidad pues la oportunidad para uno nada más es lavar toilets y andar haciendo de janitor y la miseria que gana uno aquí.
Es si uno está acá, en este país, donde está generando los crímenes en nuestros pueblos, la explotación de nuestros pueblos, el robo de nuestros pueblos, y tenemos la opción de luchar, y con una posibilidad tremenda de ganar, ya no tan solo ser en mi pueblo, porque nuestros pueblos no existen como tal.
We're not Americans, you know, we're internationalists. And we don't recognize that, you know, our struggle, we don't recognize these, you know, limitations and borders that they set and try to, you know, say that it's some kind of American affair or American event, you know, a revolution in this country. That's not how we look at it. You know, it belongs to the international proletariat, our revolution, what we're doing. It's all part of that.
We do know that the time is not far off when tremendous storms and upheavals will be developing. We do know that not thousands, but in the period ahead, millions of people will be brought into this swirl of tumult and uprising. And let's look at it this way. The chance to actually rise up and overthrow this blood-sucking system, the chance to actually get at its jugular vein and cut it, the chance to actually bring down this monster not only preying on us but squeezing the life out of people all over the world. The chance to do that, the time when it's weak enough, fighting amidst itself, exposed enough, forced to drive the people to the wall enough where they fight back and spring back with a determined resolution to rise up and overthrow it. The chance and the opportunity when that comes along does not happen all the time. Does not happen every year. Does not happen but once or only a few times in a lifetime. And we cannot afford to miss it.
They are forcing people to stare at these nukes and stare at the fact that they're going to use them.
Don't you want to die for this country? For the glory of your country?
But I'm only a poor girl.
A poor girl?
Hey, go to line stop again. Only men can do work like that.
No, but this time we want women too.
Sir, I volunteer.
We want warm bodies.
For the difficult task in front of her.
Nunca había ido yo a ninguna otras protestas, pero yo creo que esta protesta es más importante. Y en la protesta había muchos jóvenes, los que les dicen punks. Por ejemplo, como en los 60 no había punks, había hippies en ese tiempo, pero ellos también demostraron lo que iba a pasar en Vietnam y mucha gente no creyó, no creían que estaban locos y que nomás se ponen tan en rebeldía sin causa. Pero ellos anunciaron lo que iba a pasar en Vietnam y por eso protestaron.
And what about, I mean, in 2 weeks, on the amount we could spend, that we do spend on nuclear weapons in 2 weeks, we could feed, clothe, and medically care for everyone in the whole world. Yet, look at everywhere except for just a few countries like Brazil, all of Central America, South America, Africa, they're all starving to death. Well, we live in comfort.
Right now, the movement's not amongst the lower classes, but when they move, things move, and when they speak, you know, everybody else quakes.
People are going to be looking for a way out, you know, out of the madness, out of what they see, and, you know, not a lot, I think a good section of people are not going to go along with it, you know, and the question is, where is it going to go? Is it just going to be lashing out? Is it going to be, and then at the end going along with the program, no matter how distasteful it is, or people maybe fighting very hard and losing?
No es suficiente nada más esperar por una situación revolucionaria. Tenemos que preparar, porque sin preparación no es posible ganar, y queremos ganar. Y el punto de este partido, el Partido Comunista Revolucionario, es exactamente para preparar a las masas por el tiempo cuando es posible recoger las armas y lanzar una insurrección armada. Pero este tiempo es crítico en la preparación política.
There was hands-on struggle 24 hours a day, you know, going to punk shows and selling our magazine, you know. you know, being in the middle of like Hiroshima Nagasaki Day, and, you know, preparing for that like all throughout the summer.
One part in our Principles of Unity says turning every, I don't remember exactly what it is, something about, turning every outbreak
of protest
into schools of war. And that's basically what that's basically what we were concentrating on, you know, learning how to do that. We're training. The study group is different from school. In normal public schools, you get taught what to learn, you know, and not how to learn. It's a science to be applied, you know, so it's not going to be this is one thing that I really like about it. It's not going to be this given set of rules that you follow, you know, in your day-to-day activity. This is what you will do, and this is what you will follow. You know, it's not dogmatic. It's continuous. I mean, it progresses along with the situation in the world, you know, along with everything happening in the world.
And according to each, like, for example, like, the way that the science is applied to the U.S. is not the way it be applied to Turkey, for example. You know, the way it's applied to England is not the way it's applied to Peru.
I mean, the fact that we're using Marxism and Leninism and Mao Zedong 5 reflects that, because a lot of what they've written, it applies to their time.
Yeah.
What's going on in the world at their time. And you think, well, shit, that's what we're following now, you know? Doesn't make sense, but it does make sense because it is a science and it can be applied now.
I used to think of science as being, you know, like laboratory tubes and microscopes and this kind of thing. You know, I never thought that changing the world would require science.
People like have thinking that, you know, that's not their realm, right? Because they're taught like they shouldn't like do this, so they think that's for gifted people and just for geniuses, and not for like us proletarians to be able to take on like these questions or figure this stuff out in this society. So we have to, you know, fight against that too. Fight against that, you know, agreeing with our oppressor about, you know, ourselves.
Mira al mundo, por ejemplo, a Sudáfrica, a las Filipinas, Haití. Aparentemente, de la nada, es posible para las masas estar en las calles en lucha contra el gobierno. Un día la gente está viviendo más o menos normalmente, pero con una chispa, con una crisis. La gente está en las calles, en algunas veces con armas.
A lot of the people that are like involved in these struggles in other corners of the world see their direct enemy as U.S. imperialism, the people who's running the show here. And one of the main things they got to be doing is like getting in position to nuke it out and duke it out with their imperialist rival in the Soviet Union, right? And in the midst of this, you know, they're kind of like trying to keep the empire together. And here, you know, people are rising up in South Africa, and then next day, you know, literally next day, they got to bring their Sixth Fleet from the Persian Gulf to the, you know, over to the Philippines, and it's, you know, creating a tremendous, I think, source of strain and problems for them. Our party is a participant in the Revolutionary Internationalist Movement, along with 18 other parties and organizations from around the world, including the Communist Party of Peru, who is right now leading People's War, armed struggle inside Peru. So definitely, like, those things we have going for us, you know, in terms of the forces on a world scale.
When your system of government is in place, what's going to happen? Are we going to have room for dissent and all that stuff, and people can say their mind? And
well, you know, a lot of people who've been miseducated about what we're talking about will call on the radio shows I'm on or something. They'll say, listen, when you're in power, I won't even be able to criticize you. Which is the farthest thing from the truth. In fact, what we have to say to them is, listen, the biggest problem with people like you is getting you to criticize us once we're in power, because if you'll put up with what's going on to this system now, you'll put up with anything. But I'm not going to dodge a question here. As far as the capitalists who've been overthrown and new capitalists who want to rise in the party, like Khrushchev or Deng Xiaoping and those people in China now who are running the society and subjecting the masses to oppression while they're letting the privileged sectors run wild, those kind of people will not be allowed to organize and try to put the masses back in the hell that they've done. There will be freedom for the masses, the majority. There will not be freedom for exploiters, because if exploiters are free to exploit, then the majority of people are not free to be free of that exploitation.
So that if under your system I'm doing this show and there's a guy who wants to come on and say about you guys...
Well, we're going to run the television. Our party's going to lead the masses. No question about that.
You mean you're going to run the whole shooting match?
We're not. Our party's going to lead the people in running it. We're not going to lead the people in making revolution and then disappear and abdicate leadership. The people are going to, want and demand that the people that lead this revolution take responsibility for leading them to reshape the society. And we're not going to say, well, so long, we led you, now you're on your own.
We probably could, like right now, take over a city, maybe even this city, a police station or whatever, take over the city, and a lot of people are digging. They probably come in and join up and we hold out for a couple of days or what have you, like this here. But then after that, then, things will be back to like what they are and shit. And so the only reason we're not doing something like, because we want to like win, we want to like bring these suckers all the way down, and create a whole new revolutionary society and stuff. And people got to become like part of the process to help like bring that about. Help like bring about the situation, so that when we do launch with the guns and the arms and our hundreds of thousands and millions like this here, that we have at least a decent chance at winning.